What was the stupidest reason you got woken up for? When I was a teenager, my much younger brother woke me up from a nap saying, "Mom said don't wake up." Another job well done. Did you ever get the, "Guys, be quiet, Mom said to let him sleep longer," right outside your door? This is why wars happen. You mean why 8-year-olds are tossed across ponds and skipped like rocks? Obnoxiously loud buzz and shriek of a National Weather Service warning to my cell phone at 3 a.m. telling me that in about an hour, it was going to be raining in a county 60 miles away. I figured out how to turn off that crap permanently. False positives generated by humans are unacceptable. One time, I got a tornado warning in November. I live near LA. Did you die? My daughter always wakes up in the middle of the night, but it's not a quiet wake up. She's 6. She screams at the top of her lungs, "Dad!" "What?" "I can't sleep." "Me neither." Anytime I fall asleep at my mom's place, my 8-year-old sister will shake me awake and ask what I'm doing. You guys really know how to sell the whole having kids thing, don't you? My brother looked at his clock, saw a :30, and assumed there was a 7 in front of the colon on Christmas morning. It was 3:30 in the morning. Even on Christmas, that's 4 hours too early. One Christmas, I tried to get my family up at 1 a.m. Technically, it was the morning. I remember doing something like this when I was a kid. I saw 12:30 and freaked out thinking it was already noon, totally oblivious to the fact that there was one of those in the middle of the night as well. My parents were pretty teed off. When we were both pretty young, my sister woke up at 4 a.m. on Christmas Day once. I had to force her to go back to bed. From then on, we instituted a "it's not Christmas until 7 a.m. rule in our house. I feel like everyone with siblings has been the victim or perpetrator of this particular problem. Now we await the karma of our kids doing it to us with a sense of dread. A bazillion years ago, when I was 16, I was hospitalized for infectious mono, and they would wake me up to ask if I needed a sleeping pill. They would wake you up? You mean they did this regularly? In my memory, they were doing it every time I fell asleep. Probably it was just at night. Maybe just one specific mean, kid-hating nurse. I don't know. It was a very traumatic experience. When I was in the hospital before, they had to wake me every couple of hours for different medicines. Later, it was just to see how I was. Like a certain quick test or ask me a question. It made it so I couldn't sleep. The wake-ups were very quick though, like 20 seconds. At the very end of some, she would ask if I wanted a sleeping pill as she knew I was tired of being woken up all the time and not sleeping well. I'm not doubting your story, I'm just wondering if I wasn't the type to instantly be alert when I wake up, if I'd be thinking they were waking me up to ask me if I wanted a sleeping pill. I was in hospital for a week last year. They were giving me Valium at night to help me sleep, but they would give me that at 10 and my IV bag would be changed at midnight. One nurse was the chattiest frickin' B-word in the ward. Comes in and all the lights are off, with me clearly asleep. "Oh, hello, how are you? Blah 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 blah." She was terrible. And then they would wake everyone up at 6 because that's when daily cleaning, changing sheets, wiping things down, mopping floors, would happen. Plus I'd get my daily blood work taken at the time and an anticoagulant shot in the hip. Didn't need it, it was regular practice to give them to everyone. God, they really just don't like letting people sleep in the hospital. My grandma calling to ask me if I wanted blueberry muffins at 1 a.m. Of course I do! Were they delicious? Frick, yes. What time are you going to wake up today? Well, I guess right now o'clock. My husband does this regularly. That or, what time do you want me to get you up? Ugh, butthead. He's so lucky I love him. Some butthole at university pulling the fire alarm in the dorm building during finals this week. Did they ever find out who did it? Not that I ever heard. My guess is someone got drunk and thought it would be funny. The thing is, at my university, when someone pulls one fire alarm, all the dormitories get evacuated. Normally, someone drunk just put a pizza in the oven and passed out. In my halls of residence, any 3 a.m. fire alarm was usually a cheese toastie in distress. I was in the party res, and this happened multiple times at my university too. Once I'd gotten pretty drunk that night and had just gone to sleep, 4 a.m., when 10 minutes later the alarm went off. Despite being the loudest, most annoying alarm I've ever heard, it took me at least a solid minute and a half in my drunken, half-asleep stupor state to figure out it was the fire alarm. I just wondered why my head was suddenly so loud. Staying in dorms wasn't even an option. There was something like a $500 fine if they found anyone who didn't evacuate. I kid you not with this story. So my linear algebra professor decided to test us to see if we were truly learning the material in class. So he said, your cell numbers are in the school system, so I'm going to call each and every one of you at a random time during the quarter. I'm going to ask linear algebra questions and you have to answer it, or else you lose 5 points. I thought it was weird, but we decided to go along with it. 3/4 of the way through the quarter, I completely forgot about it, and at like 3 in the morning, my phone goes off. I wake up and I answered it. Hey, it's your math professor here. Here's your question. How many vectors does it take to form a basis in R4? And what are the conditions needed to form it? I paused for a second and just said, no, I'm not doing this, and hung up. The next day I talked to him after class and he said, if you truly knew the material, you'd know it in your sleep. I lost 5 points, but I didn't care. That was the dumbest thing to do to wake a person up. I don't know my own name when I wake up from a deep sleep, much less linear frickin' algebra. You should have called him every half hour from 2 a.m. through a Saturday night to ask him to tell you about something from the class. I would have gone to the head of the department over this. This is beyond inappropriate. I know that sounds harsh, but this was a power trip, and it was an abuse of his power. My dad called me and woke me up the other day to ask me if I wanted to go for breakfast. My instinctive response was, frick you, I'll kill you. I called him back 10 minutes later when my alarm went off and we had IHOP. Being woken up to be told I'm going out. I would have gathered that by waking up and noticing that you weren't home. I would assume, oh, she went out. This happens to me all the time. I get woken up by someone yelling, bye Alexandra, I'm going to the dentist or mall or work. Like, thanks, if only I could have figured that out all by myself. Sorry, I'm bitter about this. They do mean well. They don't want us to worry. But yeah, we'd rather sleep longer and worry a bit than not sleep and not worry. Is leaving a note an impossibility? A friend of mine showed up at my apartment at 9 a.m. because he was in the neighborhood and had to take a crap. Well, would you rather he left it on your doorstep with a note? Dear friend, fix your doorbell. This is what you are sleeping in past 9. A lazy piece of crap. If any of my buddies pulled this on me, I'd totally understand. Coworker called me at 1:30 a.m. to call out for the following day. Coworker, not employee, and because of a sore throat. That crap happened to me too. Hey, I'm gonna be out tomorrow. Can you tell the boss? Can't you call her in the morning? No, I'm gonna be busy. It's literally just, hey, I won't be there. Okay, have a good day. Seriously, or send a text, that makes the most sense. I got a lot of places say that's a no-no, but I can't imagine calling that early in the morning is any better. Or if you work in hospitality, you send the text and they ask you to come in anyway, cold or no cold, COVID or whatever. I really don't miss it. My dad, I think he'd been smoking green herb, but anywho, he woke me at 3 a.m. in my senior year of high school to see if I wanted to drive him to Walmart so that he could buy tan mini blinds for the dining room. He handed me a piece of paper that he had supposedly written down the measurements of the windows on, but it was just the wrapper from a piece of candy. Measurements. List of candy. You think he had been toking? You have some pretty high standards of evidence. Well, my dad can be pretty eccentric, and around that time he'd had surgery, but I just don't think the pills they gave him were that good. In case they were that good, do you know what the pills were called? No reason. My mom woke me at 7 a.m. on Sunday when I was 15 to tell me that Princess Diana had died. I was annoyed, so I just said, good, and went back to sleep. I was 18, and my mom woke me up at 7 a.m. to tell me that too. I asked if Dodie was with her and apparently nodded in approval when this was confirmed and rolled over. I've just heard that Princess Diana and her lover were killed this morning. Mum, I swear it wasn't me. I've been here all morning. I have an alibi. Back in 2007, my dad woke me to tell me Jessica Simpson was getting a divorce. I have no idea why. I've never expressed even the slightest interest in Jessica Simpson. I barely knew who she was. I have no idea how he knew who she was, and yet he felt the need to inform me about the demise of her marriage at 7 in the morning. It was surreal. Your dad was just really happy that his fantasy was finally coming true. When my dad would wake me at 7 on the weekend to ask me when I planned on getting up. That was probably just his way of saying get up. Oh my gosh, what is up with parents in this? My dad would tell me that I'm wasting the morning. What the frick? All my family does in the morning is watch TV and yell at each other. I'd rather be asleep. My friend calls me. Hey Jerry, can I borrow Smash Bros. Melee? I'd be grateful, man. Dude, it's 3:30 in the morning. Fricking wait until the sun is out. Jerry took my words seriously. Hey, the sun is out. Can I get the game now? Sure. Sorry everyone, tournament is delayed until sunrise because someone is being a jerk. Well, mate, you should have your own copy of the game if you're going to host a tournament, Steve. Get stuffed, Jerry. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. My girlfriend punched me in the face. According to her, she just woke up from a dream, but was still in one of those weird half-conscious, half-dreaming states where she didn't really know where she was or what was going on. She said she looked beside her in bed and saw some dark mass laying there that made her uncomfortable. So after watching it for a moment, she attacked it. Ended up decking me square in the nose. Hard. Somehow, I instantly knew what had happened. I shot up and yelled, "Babe, what the frick?" She mumbled some sort of half-asleep apology, immediately rolled over and went back to sleep. I, on the other hand, lay there unable to go back to sleep for 2 more hours, because it's not exactly easy to do when you're woken up like that. I was furious. It's one of my favorite stories about her and us now, though. Well, at least now you know she can handle it if any strange dark mass of a person is in your home unwanted. My dad's, "Wake up, we won $1 million! April Fool's prank 2 years in a row. He really thought he was clever." I can't remember if I was actually woken up or woke up on my own, but I woke up one morning to my ex mad at me because she had a dream that I cheated on her. My dad left for work with soup boiling on the stove. I woke up smelling smoke and I thought someone was smoking. The window was open. I went into the kitchen and freaked out. Being woken up to ask me if I wanted to smoke a bowl. No, bro, the reason I fell asleep in the first place was because I'm too high. I woke up punching myself in the face repeatedly. I must have tried to itch my nose or something and did it. Then I hit myself again trying to block whatever was hitting me. I must have hit myself in the face 10 times before I woke up enough to realize what was happening. My whole arm fell asleep and it was dark. Roundhouse kick to the face from my 2-year-old son. Did you repay the favor the following night? With twice the fury. Roundhouse kick 2. Twice the fury. A couple of nights ago, my husband flipped the light on in the middle of the night because he was looking for spiders hanging from the ceiling while he was dreaming. Twice. 2 hours apart. Thinking about it, it parallels with the time he was sleep-talking, stood up in the middle of the bed and then rolled me over to look under me for the map that he was dreaming was missing. I speak Spanish, but the rest of my family doesn't. One Saturday morning, my dad was having a garage sale and woke me up at 7 AM to translate for some guy who didn't speak English and wanted to negotiate prices. So I dragged myself out of bed. I'd had a really late night the night before and was a little hungover and went to talk to this guy about a punching bag. I was talking with him for about 5 minutes before I realized he was speaking Portuguese and that I was having a one-sided conversation with myself and neither of us could actually understand the other. In conclusion, Dad woke me up to translate for Spanish speaker at a garage sale. The guy was speaking Portuguese. My roommate and her boyfriend snuck in at 6 AM and tried to quietly do the deed while I was sleeping in the other bed 2 feet away. Wow, F that guy. If he's cool with that. Just gonna note, no one said anyone had a problem with it, just that it was a stupid reason to wake up. I woke myself up because I was laughing. I was dreaming about flatulent jokes. I got woken up by my own laughing once too. I remember I was camping and I was dreaming about exploding outhouses and for some reason it got me in my giggle bone. It still makes me chuckle a bit. Family members have woken themselves up snoring loudly. My parents' dog tooted itself awake a few times. And the narrator has also woken himself up with his own toots and snores on a large number of occasions, so let's go easy on the dog shaming. A tiny earthquake, and then when I was about to fall back asleep, my brother came into the room freaking out. I woke up from a minor earthquake once. We don't really get earthquakes here, so I assumed it was a dream until I saw it on the news the next day. My mum very excitedly woke up to show me a recently dead bird that she had seen fly into our window. I told her that she wasn't a cat, and behavior such as this was unacceptable. During college, some drunk idiot tried and failed to cook grilled cheese at 2:30 in the morning, set off the fire alarm for an 8-floor dorm. The campus police officer who showed up to help clear the scene stood on top of his cruiser and yelled, "Who the frick burns grilled cheese at 2 AM?" My mom wants me to be awake. She doesn't have anything to do, she just doesn't want me sleeping if the sun is out. Most fun thing for teenagers happen around midnight. Wake her up then so she doesn't miss out on that. I got this crap when I was living at home during the summer between years of college and working afternoon and evening shifts in retail. I'd wake up at about 11:30 a.m., shower, eat, go to work, come home, have dinner, and then stay up until 2 because that's when all of my friends were online. My parents really did not like me sleeping so late. Their reasoning was that I needed to be up at the same time as the rest of the world. I guess it's somehow disrespectful to sleep late if no one else is, but what the heck would I be doing in the morning if I don't work until 1 p.m.? I finally just said it was unreasonable to expect me to be up at 7 a.m. when my schedule was the way it was, and that if my shift changed, I would change my schedule. But yeah, there was like a week every summer of, "Stop sleeping so late, other people are already up." Yes, it's exactly like that, except not always related to work schedule. Still, my mom doesn't want me to sleep the day away, and she doesn't like me being awake while everyone else sleeps. It's not as if I'm loud or doing anything dangerous. My manager once called me at 6 a.m. to ask if I saw his email he sent about an hour before about shirt sizes for the new uniforms. My boss does that. In the call, he's always slightly disparaging that I didn't email confirm I got his email. I'm always like, "You sent it, I got it. There wasn't a question. When there is something to respond to, I'll do it when I get to them." Now I just click reply on his emails and peg out "OK" on the keyboard and hit send. I woke my sister up for moral support when I went to battle with giant-ass spiders downstairs. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that spiders are an acceptable reason to wake someone up. My roommate, who I love so much, put an old potato in the microwave for 5 minutes. We don't know if it's because she didn't poke it with holes, or if it's because it was old, or if 5 minutes is too long for a raw potato, but we had a food flare-up. I wake up because the fire alarm is going off, and I peek my head out and there's a small fire in the microwave. I blasted it with water from a spray bottle until it stopped glowing, and we threw out the melted plate and blew the smoke out of the windows, and we laughed about it for like an hour. It was such a stupid situation. Who lights a fire in a microwave? Who messes up baking a potato? Who's baking potatoes after midnight anyway? Why was it so funny to hold a melted plate in the middle of the night? It's actually one of my favorite college memories so far. My significant other waking me up in a panic because there was a parrot giving birth on the floor. He was talking in his sleep, by the way. Someone waking me up to tell the person next to me the time. My friends stopped by to ask me if I was asleep. It's actually really annoying when someone shakes you and wakes you up and then looks you in the eye and asks if you're awake. It's even more annoying when they ask, "Were you asleep?" Yes, it's like someone seeing you struggle to carry a heavy load and asking you, "Is it heavy?" I was having a nap one day. I very rarely nap, and a friend of mine who lives halfway across town charges into my room and screams, "Do you have a phone book?" I was so dazed and confused that I didn't even consider asking why and just gave him the book. Years later, at his wedding, I gave him a phone book of my new town. I will never forget the nap that got away. I have questions. 1. Why, if he lives halfway across town, did he charge into your room? 2. Why did he need a phone book? 3. People still use phone books? I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, especially after a night of drinking. One Saturday morning when I was in college, I slept through a fire alarm. I woke up when a security officer entered my room and started yelling at me. "Hey, why are you still here? Didn't you hear the alarm?" I was still in my bed at that point, and I just looked at him and said, "I didn't hear it, I was sleeping." He then tells me that the fire alarm was set off in my room and started rattling off questions. "Were you smoking, microwaving, toasting, lighting incense?" I told him, "No, dude, I just told you I was sleeping, you literally woke me up." At this point I could tell he was getting a bit frustrated, but so was I. He then tells me, "Get up, you need to go outside with the others." I responded, "Well, can I at least get dressed? I'm not wearing boxers." After that, he finally left, and I put on some underwear and my robe and went outside. It turned out my smoke alarm was defective, which is why it set off the system and why I couldn't hear it as loudly as everyone else. It wasn't necessarily a stupid reason to wake me up, but at the time I was super annoyed because it sucked to wake up to a security guard yelling at you early in the morning. My girlfriend woke me up to tell me the toilet was clogged and asked if I could help. Walked to the bathroom, watched her use the plunger to unclog the toilet, and walked back into bed as she said thank you for the help. Long-serving EMT. Been woken up on a shift at Lord knows what hours for. Toe pain for 4 weeks. Gangbanger with the flu. The patient who wanted to ask if she could take aspirin, picked the same guy up for the 4th time in 24 hours for no reason, people who had nightmares. The list is endless. All young, otherwise healthy people with nothing emergent or immediate happening to them. It's my job. I was on shift, so I shouldn't really care. But when you work 24, 36, and 48-hour shifts, those 10-minute naps are a blessing. 1 hour's a full night's sleep, and anything over that a miracle. I was once woken at 3 a.m. to repair a barn door in the freezing cold because horses are bastards. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.